You're listening to Kids Ministry Answers from Stuff You Can Use, from Stuff You Can Use, from StuffYouCanUse.org.
Welcome to Kids Ministry Answers. My name is Jason.
And my name is Linda, and this is the podcast where you ask the questions and we help you find the answers.
Yes, that's right. Linda, how are you today?
Hey, Jason. I'm excited for you for this episode because I know that it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah. It is going to be a really good one. It is like a pretty serious and heavy episode. So I thought I'd intro with kind of a funnier question. As we've talked about on the KMA podcast a lot, Linda and I are both introverts. But I do think that extroverts will relate to this too. Okay, if you don't know,
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying we say it so often.
Yes, we say it almost every single episode, which is cool. It's important to say. Us introverts let's stand up for ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yes, let's do it because we rarely do.
We rarely do. But I do think extroverts will relate to this too. And so the question for you is this, like, what are some tricks of the trade that you've learned in terms of like ducking out of a party or exiting an event that you don't want to be at anymore? Like, are there any things that you do that like maybe this is like giving up secrets, which I'm kind of cool with because I want to give some introverts some ideas, but it's also going to be like when we've done this, people are going to be like, oh, that's what they were doing. So we are giving up our own tricks here, but that's okay. Is there anything that you'd want to share with the KMA fam?
Yeah, this is such a good question. And that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, oh my goodness, if I share some of this stuff, people are going to think back on situations and be like, wow, Linda really wanted to leave that party.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, well, that's what we're here for. We're here to give you some answers. So,
Yes.
Okay, here's what I do. If I know ahead of time that I have to be somewhere that I don't want to be, but I know I have to go to that thing, I try to schedule something immediately after. So I have these events stacked.
Yeah.
So I can leave with sort of good conscience, right? So I can be like, hey, I have this thing right after this, so I can't stay long. And so it might have been like manufactured by me. It might have been stacked by design, but at least I have the legitimate excuse to leave, right? It's not just like, ooh, look, someone's calling me.
Fake phone call.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel better about it when I have an excuse that is actually a thing, because if anyone were to fact check me on it, they can be like, yeah, actually, she did have that thing right afterwards.
I love that that's really important to you.
I know, it is. If I find out while I'm at something that I don't want to be here anymore and I need an exit strategy, and this is where I'm kind of like, okay, guys, like, don't judge me for having done this because it is just normal stuff. And sometimes I'll do it just because I want to do it, and it doesn't mean I want to leave or I hate you. But sometimes I do these things intentionally to signal that I want to leave. So here's what I do. First thing I do is I start cleaning. Like, I just start like picking things up and like, start like, so if I'm at a restaurant, I start like putting like the plates and forks and knives and like all this stuff like together. It's like to kind of signal like I'm done. Or like if I'm at a house, I start like help like putting things away or start doing the dishes and stuff. Because then like it helps me get removed from a conversation I don't want to be in. It physically removes me from a space. And also usually if they are good hosts, they'll come over to you and they'll just be like, oh, no, you don't have to do that, right? And they'll just kind of like, and it gives you permission to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go then. And it just like creates this like nice little segue.
Yeah.
To be like, I don't have to go sit down now because I was kind of on my way out. It also works if you need people to leave your home.
Yes.
To start cleaning. Then it signals to people like, oh, look, it's closing time.
Yeah.
Another thing I do is I literally leave the room sometimes. So like if I need to make a call or if I just need like a break or something, I just kind of like leave to like a different part of the room or to even a different room if that's available.
Yeah.
And if I'm gone long enough, I come back and usually when people notice, they're like, is everything okay? Like, do you need to go? And then I'm like, yes. Since you asked.
You say it. Totally.
And the last thing is like a lot more direct, depending on how blunt I care to be. I say something like, I'm so sleepy, like, because that's not, if I say I'm tired or something, I feel like it'll project onto the event and the event organizers, and they'll be like, oh my God, you're so bored. But if I say like, I'm so sleepy, they're like, okay, you just lack stamina. Go home.
Okay. This is so great. This is exactly what I'd hoped for when I thought about this question, because I thought either Linda's going to be like, no, I'm not sharing any of these things.
What do you mean? I stayed till the end.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Through it.
Or this, where you were going to be like, I am ready to rock with this question. I have so many options for you to choose from. And we're helping people
They're
with
not
this. I truly believe.
But they do sometimes work.
Yes, exactly. So in terms of me, I definitely have used the kids excuse. So when I became a parent, like you can always say, oh yeah, hey, something came up with kids, got to get back to the kids, or like kids not feeling well, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. They're overstimulated.
Yeah, that. Or I sometimes, before I had kids, I would do these things. There is like, I think you kind of touched on a little bit, but like a quiet, well, I don't know if you did, just a quiet exit, like just slipping out quietly. Like this is probably for parties where there's like a lot of people, and you can just be like, okay, I'm just gonna like move out from the crowd and go to my car and exit, and people might not even notice it. That one's tricky because it can make people angry if they're like, man, where did you go? What happened? What was that all about? Another one, which I've found to be very effective, is these short parting, very positive conversations to a few key folks before you leave. Like, hey, this was super awesome. Like, thanks for, whatever. And just do that with a few people. And what I found is it makes people feel really great about you leaving. Like, wow, that was like a great time. Doesn't matter how long you've been there. You have this really positive combo before you exit.
And then they advocate for you when they're like, oh, where's Jason? I'm like, oh, he had to go, but it's totally cool.
Yeah, totally cool. So that's been my those are the things that I go to. Today, if you haven't guessed yet, we're going to be talking about exiting and doing it well. But to get even more specific, we're going to throw it over to our question, which actually Caitlin is making another appearance on the podcast, and she is going to share our question with us today.
Today's question is, how do I leave my ministry well when it's time to move on?
Wow. Thank you so much for that question, Caitlin. This is a big one. I think it matters so much and is so important to chat about this before the situation comes up, like before we get into the situation. Because as we're going to talk about in this conversation, there's so much stuff. There's just so much stuff that's involved in these times, like emotions, relationships, possible trauma, etc., that having a plan beforehand will help us to avoid making harsh and rash decisions during that process.
Yeah, it's so true, because unless you are leaving because you're moving away or something where there's not a lot of complexity involved, it was probably a difficult decision for you to make on its own. But then to actually bring that decision and reconcile it with like how you are leaving that place and what you are taking with you and what you're carrying with you. I think that is such an important conversation, because it is really hard to do it well. And all that happens sometimes is we just end up building a lot of resentment on both sides. So I'm really excited about this conversation. Like I was saying in the beginning, I'm excited for you because I'm not going to be a part of that conversation, but I am looking forward to hearing what you guys talk about, because these are all things that we need.
Yeah, exactly.
So the reason I am so envious of this conversation that you and Brooklyn from Youth Ministry Answers are going to have is because the guest is Dr. Yulee Lee, who is our COO here at Stuff You Can Use. She's also one of the co-founders of Cora Collective. And she is just an insightful and perceptive person. And she is so good at looking at organizational structures and leadership systems and just really calling things out. And so hearing from her about how to leave ministry well is going to be such a treat because she'll see the gaps that we might be missing, and she can speak from her own experience with all of the various contexts that she's worked in with as well.
Yeah. Yep. I'm so excited about this too. We talked with Dr. Yulee Lee before about rest, which was so great. And I think what's so cool about talking to Yulee is she can look at situations that feel chaotic and she can just kind of speak in a way that calms the water, pulls out the simple truths from it that you might not have thought of after the fact.
It's such a gift. It's such a gift.
Truly. Mm-hmm. And I think this exiting well conversation is like that. It can feel so chaotic in certain situations. And we need someone to say hey, let's look at, these simple things that we can pull out from this that will help give structure and a plan to this thing that might feel chaotic.
Yes, so, absolutely.
All that being said, let's hear and watch this conversation with Yulee Lee. Well, first I wanted to say, Brooklyn, it's great to be back with you again, interviewing Dr. Yulee Lee, which is, I know, for me, one of the best conversations ever that we had last time when we talked about rest. There's still stuff from that convo that I'm thinking about a lot. So Brooklyn, great to be with you. Of course, Dr. Yulee Lee, awesome to talk to you again, especially about this. Yeah, thanks for being here. This is a really important question to tackle. How do we leave ministry well? How do we leave situations well? I said this a little bit in the intro, but there's just so much stuff involved in this situation, in these situations, that having a plan, having a structure is really important because there's so much about it that you're going to look at in hindsight and be like, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that differently. And so that's why I think this is such a great combo to have and will be so helpful for so many people.
Yeah. Well, first, before I dive into that, I just want to say I'm happy to be here having this conversation. It's a very human conversation. We come and go all the time. And we're going to be leaving a lot of places over our ministry career. And so I think that there's a lot of things we cannot control about our departures, but there are things we can be aware of and things we can do to make them maybe less anxiety-ridden, a little bit more focused and intentional. So that's the goal for this conversation is I hope people listening can walk away feeling like, okay, I can leave well, despite whatever situation I'm facing right now. So, anyway, I think should I just dive into the first?
Yeah. Can you just show us, lead the way?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I remember leaving several different churches that I was on staff with. And each time the departures were very dramatic. A part of that wasn't in my control, but a part of it was. And I think earlier in my ministry career, I thought that leaving needed to have a little bit of drama attached to it. I think I imagined in my mind that there's going to be people praying over me and commissioning me out to this new space.
There's tears, there's cries, all kinds of stuff. Has to be that way.
The dramatization. And that's the positive part of it. The other part of the dramatization was, if I had a bad experience, there was going to be this dramatic accountability taking place. As I was leaving, people were going to repent. Or something. On my way out, there's going to be a revival.
People are going to repent.
The world will never be the same after this.
I know. We are leaving and it must be announced.
Yes, exactly. And then the reality of the experience is it's often opposite of that in a lot of ways. And one of the things I learned is that leaving is just a normal thing people do. It's a normal thing we do every day. Actually, we come and go to different places like the grocery store or exercise studios or wherever we're going, picking up our kids and dropping them off, etc. We arrive and we depart. Every day it's a normal thing. But then when we think about leaving a church or a workplace, we kind of make it into something bigger than maybe it should be. And so the first piece of advice would be to lower the stakes on our leaving a place. And that doesn't mean like we didn't take our job seriously or that we didn't really care about the work that we were doing, because, we really wanted to help people follow Jesus and we wanted to make a difference in our communities. And that's really, really amazing. But sometimes that importance and care that we have for these roles, it can cause us to treat leaving a church like this dramatic life event, or even sometimes like a failure, like we failed at something in our positions and that's why we're leaving. So I would say, just lower the stakes on leaving. And it's completely normal and healthy when we leave places. There are roles that are meant for us in certain seasons. And that's a good thing, because if we were in the same role forever, I think that would actually become toxic. Like, who wants that? Like, I don't want that. I think I would I wouldn't know what to do. Like 10 years from now, when the world has changed and there are new younger leaders rising up, I would want to pass the baton, right? And so these are not our permanent identities. Our ministry work is not our permanent identities. And so I think there's a surrender attached to this, as well as attached to the leaving part of it as well. So
Yulee, I wonder what you would say to this, or what you would kind of add to this. So that perspective to me is like so important, not just to know yourself as you're going through the process, but like to communicate, to be like communicating to the others around you. Because it's been my experience that during the process, there will be others around you who will try to kind of convince you of otherwise. Like, how is this ever going to be the same? Like, or how is this thing going to go on when you're gone? Or the other way, like, man, this will be so much better when you're not a part of it anymore. So you have to kind of not only know this yourself as you're going through it, but be able to like advocate, communicate that to other people around you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you hit upon a really key point, Jason, and it's that I think we overemphasize the importance of our role in any place. So if we leave a church for quote unquote a negative reason, let's just say like the culture wasn't a good fit for us, and we're like, you know what, I just can't do it here. This is not the right place for me because I'm not flourishing. And we think leaving is going to divide the church. Again, we put this drama. We attach drama to it.
We always think it's going to divide the church.
Yeah, we always do. We're like, I'm going to divide the church. And I'm like, actually, no, you're not. You're not that important.
Yes, I know. You are not the center of the universe, actually.
Yeah. And then the opposite is true, too. Like, great things happen when we, accept God's call to enter into a church ministry role. When we leave, better things might happen. And that's good. We should celebrate that. It's not, the church God doesn't need us to stay to make things better. Like, God is just going to do that on his own. And so, I just think taking away the attention from us and lessening our importance, I think, is related to lowering the stakes.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's also a part of you who, if you're in youth or kids ministry, and this was my problem. I don't know if it was a problem, but something I had to learn about myself was I often cared so much about the kids in the ministry. Like I would assign like my personal failure or success based on if they were thriving or not. And so to leave them would mean I'm letting them down, and it was like breaking my heart that I would disrupt their spiritual journey by leaving. And I had a wise volunteer leader say to me, she was probably in her late 50s. She said, "Brooklyn, Jesus loves them more than you do." And that really changed how I felt. She's like, "They are going to miss you. That's human. But Jesus doesn't need you to be here for him to care about them and take care of their needs." And I know that's like an obvious thing, but when you're 24, 25, actually when I was that age, Jason was like an intern for me. And I just thought like the world revolved around the details of what we did versus like the deity who made it all happen. So I think the lower the stakes part is a really, really good piece of advice, because we do tend to conflate our importance with our job title and all the things, because we want to do good in the world and it's all really well intentioned, but it can make us feel like all of this is going to go badly if we don't do it right.
I know.
So I love that.
Yeah. But it's not like based on experience. I'm sure it would take you too as well. Like if we reflect back on the places we've left, like they're all doing really well. Even like the ones that were really toxic. Yeah. The toxic ones too. They're just like doing really well on their own.
Yeah.
So lower the stakes. What else can we do to leave well?
With a sub point of number 1 of Jesus doesn't need you. That's the sub point.
Yeah. Sub point. You're not that important.
Yes. Let's make sure we lock that in.
Oh my gosh. So fun. Okay. The second point is that I think sometimes when we leave a ministry position, not sometimes, I think every time we leave, it brings up a lot of different emotions. And sometimes one of those, which is the most uncomfortable, can be anger. So the second thing we could do is reframe our anger. So when there might be some of you who have left in the past or maybe thinking of leaving now, and you're dealing with anger. And, we get angry because of the way decisions were made, or maybe because of the culture of our church, or leadership dynamics were a little bit weird, and we get angry about that. And we kind of wish things would have been different. And so we get angry. But then I think what leaders do, what we do, is we immediately start wondering and questioning ourselves. Like, is it wrong for me to be angry? Is it wrong for me to feel this way? And so I think that, rather than thinking that anger is revealing something wrong about us, I think, we should reframe anger and think about what anger can reveal about our certain situation, about ourselves, about others around us, about the organization, and maybe kind of channel it into something productive. Like, what could you do in your final days with your anger that is a contribution to your church as you're exiting out? Like, maybe your anger will direct you to talk to human resources if you have that at your church. Not all churches have that. Or maybe to somebody on the executive team. Maybe your anger will help you to have certain conversations that you've never had with others in the congregation, et cetera. Maybe it'll help you to advocate for some issue that you've always wanted to see the church sort of embrace. And so I would say reframing our anger in those productive ways can be a really good thing. And it's an opportunity for you in this transition to do that.
Yeah. Well, I've never been angry before, so I'm just guessing.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
I thought she was completely serious. I was like, wow, okay. Well,
like, you're the first person.
No, I camp in Angerland, so this is hitting hard. I'm like, oh gosh. So one of the things you said in your final days, and I'm like, well, I could dig a grave or I could do the right thing. Anger can lead me to want to just burn it all down. And I think it doesn't have to lead to bitterness. You're right. So the first thing you probably shouldn't do is like post how you're feeling on Facebook. I noticed like my colleagues, maybe friends, peers. I noticed a lot early in ministry when a transition would happen and someone would leave. And it was almost like required to explain yourself on Facebook. I don't know why we do that. I don't think we need to. I don't think anybody should have to explain why they leave or how it happened. I think it's because we're afraid there's some scandal tied to it or something. And if we really are, then maybe we should really check to see if there is a scandal tied to it. But I think it's like this fear that people are going to think I did something wrong instead of assuming that we're integrous people who follow Jesus, and that if someone is concerned about why you left, they might ask you. I don't know. What about you, Jason? Do you ever get angry? Because I feel like you don't.
Yes, I have been angry before. But my question, I guess, for you, Yulee, is so if people are given reasons why they have to go, so I'm talking about like your let go type of situation.
Like fired?
I think that that's probably when the anger becomes like a part. Well, I'm not saying all the time, but mostly that would involve some anger. And I think sometimes we can like, and I'm all about like how we communicate this because I think I've struggled to do that. Like we can feel bad about processing those reasons with others because we're afraid of the anger that's connected to it, like you talked about. So like, but those were the reasons. Like you weren't given other reasons. So like, but you feel bad about saying it because then it's like, well, am I like doing something wrong by saying it? So just to give you an example, and then I'll let you like speak into it. So like, I kind of entered into ministry through the youth, like Brooklyn said, and then through worship, and was asked to switch roles at a certain church because performance wasn't good enough as a worship leader. And that was the reason I was given. So there wasn't like another reason. It was like, that was the reason I was given. And I'm not saying anything bad about that. Like they wanted someone who could do that specific thing better. But I felt bad about like talking to others about that being the reason. Almost like I was like, when I hear what you're saying is like, well, that could have led to some interesting conversations about like what this ministry values versus maybe another ministry, So I don't know if you have more to say to that, but you can almost feel like you're, you don't want that anger to like, get riled up, so you try to avoid the reasons that you were given for an exit.
You kind of
happening.
bypass the reason that what induced the anger to protect.
When that could have like brought up some good conversations.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do think, well, first of all, Jason, I'm so sad that happened to you. So thanks for sharing. And second, I love that you're laughing about it. I know that means you're over it.
Everything went on, just like you said.
Yeah.
It was completely
Lower
fine.
The stakes, Jason.
Lower the stakes. I think anger can be channeled in a very unproductive way. So like, let's say, somebody got fired, and in your situation, if you let your anger drive like literally every emotional outburst you were going to have when you were trying to communicate the truth, then I don't think that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about sitting in your, like, we're saying anger is okay. Anger is normal. What would it look like to channel our anger into, like you said, Jason, a conversation that is truthful and productive?
Right.
It's not letting anger sort of drive our motivations behind the conversation or drive maybe any part of the conversation, but it's knowing that anger is within us and then using that as wisdom. Because anger can signal something for us. When I get angry, what I visualize is like This is going to sound weird, but for myself, I visualize like an antenna like going up from my head. Like it's like literally signaling something. It's revealing something to me that I deeply value and deeply care about.
Ooh. I just wrote down anger is an antenna. That's so good.
That's so good because that was totally true in that instance. Like it was an antenna saying like, man, I am not about the performative side of this, you know, like, but I didn't want to like see it as that because it was connected to anger. So I didn't like listen to that as much as I probably should have in hindsight.
It's a discernment tool. It helps us discern what we value, what we didn't like about our situation. And we learn from that, the anger, and then we take that forward. Whatever we've learned, we take it forward. And then we become better leaders, right? Because we now know more about who we are. And what we value.
Yes.
So, this is so good. It's reminding me of a series we wrote for Grow students. It's on the topic of justice, but we focused on anger and how anger in God's word is a tool of transformation. And it, like you were saying, you know, if anger is an antenna, it detects things that are important to you, that you would actually be moved, that you would actually be disrupted. And so it makes you ask the question, why am I angry? And what's so important to me that I would feel this way? And is there something I need to do next? I think it's really incredible. I'll have to leave the name of that series in the show notes because I think it was one of the best series we created together with the team and with the community of youth ministry writers. Because it really, I think teenagers don't even know. I mean, we're leaders. I'm older and I'm still learning this, but to teach a teenager that it's okay to be angry and to reframe that anger in a way that leads you to transformation is amazing. So I love this tip about leaving like this.
Can I just say something to the people about being fired though? That's like a very sensitive thing that happens to people, and there can be shame attached to it. So it's understandable if you don't want to have a conversation, you know, around it. And it's not like we don't want to push you to have it. Like, you know, if there's other identity things that are attached to being fired, it's only if like some of those things are detached and you can have this productive convo, I think then that's a healthier way to go. But I just wanted to mention that, like, I know being fired is a challenging thing. So we're not telling you to just have a conversation with everybody.
Yes.
You can have your own private time.
Yes.
Totally.
And if you have been fired and you're listening, come over to the Grow Insiders Club and tell us about how it's going. Because like there are a couple people who shared recently in the club privately, you know, it's a closed circle of Grow people. It's not like 50,000, it's like 100 people. But maybe just talk to somebody about it and get some support because you know, it's hard when you're in your own bubble to just like figure out how to move forward. And if you need help, you should ask. I love that you made that note, Yulee. It's really good.
Totally.
Okay, so you've said lower the stakes.
Lower the stakes.
You said reframe your anger. What else?
Yeah, okay. The third thing is attached to this conversation about anger in a way. It's to be honest about why you're leaving. So be honest about the why. And like I said, being fired, that's difficult. But if you can, I would be honest about it. So I think the reason why this is the third point is because I think leaving well includes being honest about why you're leaving. And my experience has been when I leave church contexts, there's always a spin, like a narrative spin around why I'm leaving. So it's a pattern that I've picked up in my own ministry career. I don't know if you two have experienced this. But even if I'm leaving for a good reason, there's not necessarily like a big celebration around it. It's just like, oh, Yulee has another calling or something. But, actually I like the other place better. I want to go over there because they're giving me
I want to go
opportunities to
back
grow.
in time and I want to say everything I've ever said differently now. No, I
like the
actually
other
just
church.
don't want to be here anymore.
I don't want to be here anymore.
I just like them better than I like you guys. So, so long.
And I understand that I have a personality that is more inclined to say words like that. So, we're all different. We all say things differently. And I'm not trying to make you like me or anything, but I'm just saying that, think about church culture and the pressure that church culture puts on us leaders to spin that narrative to sound sometimes like extra spiritual, because, they want to avoid uncomfortable truths about the actual situation that they're in with us. And so I think honesty is a far more helpful strategy than a carefully crafted story. I think honesty serves the people we're leaving behind. It also serves us. And we leave with integrity as a result. And so I think honesty, being honest about the why, contributes to our integrity. It serves the people we're leaving. And so I think that's why it's important.
Yep.
What do you do when your leader when they're spinning the narrative and you're kind of trying to just be more direct and honest? And then there's that contrast. What do you do in that scenario?
Yeah, I think there's a, time when we have to just embrace that we can't change the leaders who are above us. And they will do whatever they're going to do, right? And so we can't control that. What we can control is what we communicate to the people. And trust me, there's always going to be people with questions.
Yep.
There's always people who come up and ask questions while you're exiting or even after the fact. And so to those people, I feel like God has given us an opportunity to be honest with them and say, hey, you know what? I didn't really like the salary I was given here at the church. It doesn't support me and my family, so I have to leave. That's why I'm leaving. Or the leadership culture wasn't really that great. I wasn't thriving. And so I found another place that's going to help me thrive. And so I think seeing those people who come up to us with questions as opportunities, that's all we could do. We're not going to go around and manipulate narrative, within the church, because that's not leaving well. That's leaving very horribly. And so we're not advocating for that. But what I'm saying is when you have an opportunity to be honest and just let go of what your leaders are saying, because you're not going to battle them on your way out. That's not what you want to do. No. It's a drain on your energy.
Totally. Yeah, I would just say so what you said about narratives and people asking questions, I think sometimes people are almost searching for the negative thing that happened. So we planted a church out of another church, which is a great positive thing. But somehow the narrative kept on getting spun that there was something we felt was wrong with this church. So we wanted to plant one so that we could do it the right way, which was not at all what we were doing. We just wanted to plant a different church in a different location where it was closer to where we lived. And so, I just think for some reason, people are kind of searching for the negative stuff attached to exiting a place when sometimes it's just not there. And it's important for you to keep on saying that, this isn't negative at all towards what you guys are doing. This is just starting something new in a different actual location or something similar to that kind of situation.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories like that. When churches, when a few people leave a church to plant somewhere else, there's always negativity attached to that. It's so funny. It should be something celebrated. More churches, Yeah. And I guess it's, it's a message for the people listening who are not leaving. These people who are remaining in a congregation and somebody is leaving. Yeah, please do not attach negative assumptions to the person leaving. Ask questions, be curious, and seek honesty. And I think that is the best route to go. And it's kind of funny that we
search for negative stuff.
Yeah, search for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think you have one more thing you want to share, but before you share that, I want to say that to your point that we can't change the leader above us. I think sometimes it can come as a shock when the leader above you that you respect so much begins to spin that narrative. And especially when, so I had a leader, we didn't get fired. The service that my husband was leading was getting closed. But the reason that was given to the group was that the Holy Spirit told him to do it. And I think, that's a hard thing to argue with because the Holy Spirit is the Holy Spirit. So for me to be like, the Holy Spirit didn't say that to us or to any of these people, but okay. Because of our respect for you and our belief in you, it's like we had to sort of just accept that. And I think we did learn, to illustrate your point, over time, even over the last, 10 years, people are still asking us, what happened? And it gives us an opportunity to say, well, things weren't going well. And it seemed as if the leader wanted a change and, prayed about it. And that was his decision versus we left and we started a church and we were disgruntled. It had nothing to do with that. It was, we were here and a change happened and now we have a thing. So I really appreciate you saying that because sometimes it can feel like we are caught between the narrative that is spun and the reality that we're living in. And you don't have to defend anything. You don't have to come out with a post or a Facebook thing, but if someone comes to you, you do have this opportunity. So I love that. To be honest about your why. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. I think the truth will be revealed eventually, everybody. The truth always comes out. And, I think more justice-minded of us, want the truth to come out earlier. And so we do things to make that happen. But what would it look like? Yeah, what would it look like to surrender that process to Jesus and, pay more attention to the transition that you're making in the present day. And and the Holy Spirit doesn't just live in your leader, everybody. It lives in you as well. And so Holy Spirit will guide you and direct you and has directed your transition out. And, you need to continue to follow the Spirit's voice in you. And it's not only in the leader above you.
Don't try to expedite Jesus's justice. Don't try to expedite the justice.
That's good.
Well, that's just what you were saying. And that, to me, I'm a big time, justice person because I definitely get caught in the trap of okay, I'm going to do some stuff to make this happen quicker. And what you said is so good. Just giving that process over to the Lord. And it just frees you from so much that you don't really need to be the bringer of justice in every situation as you're exiting a place.
So we have these beautiful pieces of advice. Lower the stakes, reframe your anger, be honest about the why. And you had one more thing you wanted to share.
I did. Yes. Okay. The last one is clarify your boundaries. All right. This one is something I've experienced over and over again. Church or regular corporate workplaces. When we transition out of any role, things kind of get, like Brooklyn said, crunchy. It feels like, oh my gosh, why do all of these people want to meet with me all of a sudden when we never talked when I was working here? So that's one thing that happens. Another thing that happens is once you leave a church, your former teammates might reach out to collaborate on something all of a sudden. And you're like, what? Why didn't you take the opportunity when I was there? Why now after I've left? Or if it's another kind of workplace, they try to contract you. Like can you part-time contract with us to like do some of this work and whatever. So I think it's really important to clarify your boundaries and set these clear boundaries during your transition. And I'm not trying to say that people don't have I think people have good intentions when they reach out to us in these ways. So I'm going to just give it to the people that they have good intentions because they want to support us. They want to stay connected to us, or maybe they feel bad about something and it's their way of like, extending an olive branch or something. I don't know what. But I think it's because when I really reflect on it, I think it's because the former church or workplace, they want to keep things as normal as possible for them. And they're not necessarily reaching out for our benefit. They're trying to keep things feeling good for their team so that their team doesn't feel too disrupted by our departure. And so it's important to communicate what your boundaries are. And it could be like, hey, thank you for reaching out. Let's put a pin in that conversation until, I don't know, 3 months out or whatever. You put the timeline on whatever sounds good to you. It could also mean like, hey, once I leave this church, I'm not going to be available for any kind of follow-up communication or any kind of onboarding for the new person who comes into my role. A lot of times they want us to help us onboard the new person, but we don't get paid for that, etc. And so, yeah, you want to be really clear about that, or else your transition is going to be crowded with these sort of requests that you don't really want in your transition. You want your transition to be a space where you can reflect, where you can take a vacation maybe and get ready for your next season. So you are in charge of that. You have agency over this process. And so, yeah, I want to encourage you to be proactive about drawing those lines. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. This one hits home a lot. I think like this is the one I looked at most and thought it was the place of most tension when I look at the places that I was exiting. And I think it especially hits home with youth ministry and kids ministry. And even I would add in worship, because there is that need for familiarity, like to see the faces of the people I've seen. And you can't let that like hold you hostage to move on to the next thing. And I think I've definitely done that, especially with the collaborations. Like, do you want to collaborate with this service? Do you want to collaborate? And they're doing it because they want people to see your face and be like, oh, he's still like around. He's still. But for you, you're like, well, I'm too busy to do X, Y, Z, but you feel this kind of pressure to do it. And so I think if I could have gone back, I would have drawn those beforehand to say like, hey, I'm not going to be doing this after I'm gone. That is going to be like a clear line of, before and after, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think,
good.
Yeah, along the same lines, it's really important to have the convo with your leadership as well.
Totally.
So whenever I leave an organization or church, I have the conversation with my boss and I say, what with whatever timeline I've given them. Sometimes it's been 2 weeks, other times it's been 3 months. One time I gave them like 8 months. I think that's too long, everybody. But
Noted.
So I've had all of these different timelines. In each timeline, I said, "This is what I'm going to do." Like you don't tell me what I'm going to do, because it's usually when you give that power over to your boss to tell you what you're going to do in your transition out, you will probably leave burnt out. So you tell them, "Hey, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to wrap this one project up. That means these 5 other projects are going to be open-handed, and that is up to you to figure out."
So good.
How to solve
It really is. And it frees you walking into the future because you don't have any sort of shame or feelings of like burden around these things that were undone because you already said these things would not be done.
And all the could you just, like, could you just do this? And could you just do this? Like, all that stuff is like, no, I can't. Like, I did this one thing and the other 4 are up to you. Yeah, that's so good.
Exactly. Because our transitions, like, even if it's to a better thing, they are filled, like we said, with so much emotion. They drain our energy in different ways. And so it's not like, because we're going to a better thing, like we're going to have all this energy to like finish 20 tasks for our old church. No, you want to be very wise about, and you don't owe them anything. Like, you don't owe your current place anything. They should be grateful that you worked for them and that you actually offered to finish this one thing.
Preach.
Yes.
I know. Yulee has taken off the PhD and she's picked up the RED. She is preaching in the pulpit.
Reverend Dr. Yulee Lee.
That is
preaching the word. That is truth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Do not feel guilty. I mean, I can't control how you feel, but I just want us to be free from that. Like, free from guilt, free from shame, free from any negative thing that somebody might tell you about how you're leaving. No, you have the power and agency to shape that for yourself, to make it the best transition out. And I think that is like a really good ending takeaway, is that leaving well, like you have a lot of agency to leave well. Like, you don't have to receive somebody else's process of leaving. You can design your own process of how you're going to leave, and leave well in that way. So
that's a great note, Yulee. You can design the way you leave. That's so good. And I will say, because I know most ministry leaders are coming into ministry with this servant heart, with this accommodating personality, with this, I want to help make things better. That's just like how we're wired, right? And so, of course, the temptation is to want to serve in your leaving and want to like overextend yourself. But, it might be better to just think about, what do I need to do for me in this moment, so that everything is clear.
Totally.
Yeah, that's so true. That pressure is going to be there, but bless our hearts for wanting to serve till the end, But if I think about it, it doesn't really serve anybody really well. Like, I'm just doing that because I've been told, or like, I might be trying to people please. And that's not what we want to do in these moments. We don't want our transitions to kind of lead us towards that toxic sort of way of interacting with people as we're leaving. It's your opportunity to be healthy.
Wow.
Your leader is not God. There's a reason why you are leaving them. You are no longer under their authority. You do not have to do anything they say. You are free.
Yeah.
We can end the podcast now.
Yeah, that's it.
Your
Goodbye,
leader
y'all.
is not God.
Take care.
Take care.
Drop
so
the
many
mic.
good nuggets, like just sound bites. I can't wait for everyone to hear this, Jason. Yulee, wow. I'm just so grateful for this conversation, not just because I am feeling incredibly encouraged by it, but because I know there are a lot of leaders out there who this is going to help. And I wish I wish younger Brooklyn had this conversation just tucked away for the many seasons of leaving that happened over the course of 25 years or whatever. Jason, do you want to add anything before we...
I would just say this, and I think we had it in our show notes, but we didn't talk about it. And that's the metaphor of an airport, where there's like planes flying in and planes departing all the time. And that was real helpful for me to think about, because it does normalize that. Like, this is happening. It's going to happen. Yeah. It's happened before. It will happen again. And we can do it well. I think
we can.
From the other side of things, when I was a teenager, my youth pastor left in the middle of like my formative years. And there was nothing he could have said or the church could have said to make me feel like, oh, that was actually a great departure. Like there was nothing that could have happened because it hurt. And that's fine. And that is fine. But though that is the reason I bring that up is not to like guilt every youth pastor who's left a church. It's to say that like there's nothing he could have done about that. No, you are not. There's nothing he could have done. It's like sometimes this is just gonna hurt, and that's completely okay. There's not a lot you can do in every situation. So
yeah, that's a good point to make at the end too, that ultimately, we try to do our best in leaving places. But there's going to be people who are hurt by our departure because they loved us, and they had relationship with us. And it might not mean the end of that relationship, but, for that temporary transition period, a lot of different people are going to experience the emotions that we also experience at the same time. And it's not our job to fix everything or everyone. We're going back to like, Jesus has got this. Yeah.
Yes. The relationships, sometimes they don't end, but the shape of them changes. And so and sometimes relationships do end and you don't have that anymore. But then like, okay, so the thing about kids and youth ministry, you guys, I know this is going to blow everyone's minds, but the thing about kids and youth ministry is that kids and teenagers grow up. And they become adults.
Whoa.
And sometimes you get to have a relationship with them outside of any sort of job you have ever had. And that is probably one of the most gratifying and purpose-filled kinds of relationships you can have.
Yeah.
So don't forget there's fruit beyond whatever garden you're in. And sometimes that fruit can fly to other places.
That's cool.
And I don't know why I just said it that way. But
except for my kids. My kids are not going to grow up. They're going to stay the same age.
Mine are going to be here in my house forever.
Shepherd's always going to be a 6-year-old, and Isaiah's going to stay put at 11. Let's just keep them there.
Okay, you can
be
that,
easier.
Jason.
It's be easier for me. I'll will it to happen.
Okay, good luck.
In our next episode, we'll be talking about denial and how to get out of that. But we do want to thank Yulee for this incredible time. As I always say when I talk, I do always say this every time I get to talk to Yulee about anything. She helps me think about things differently and about change differently and about how I can become more confident in who I am as a person, separate from anyone else. So I really appreciate what you've had to say today, Yulee. And if you enjoyed her notes and this conversation, you could actually spend time with her every month because she does something here for the Grow community and for anybody, even if you don't use Grow. It's something she does. It's called Leadership Labs. You can basically hang out with her once a month, and she does these like 1 hour long leadership focus, helping you become a better leader, helping you be more self-aware. I mean, there's just gobs and gobs. I've seen her notes. I cannot believe that people can do this. And it's really, really easy to access. It's $9 or something, maybe less than $10. Am I right? Okay.
Yep, that's
so
right.
if you want to do that every month, all you have to do is look in the show notes. There's going to be a link and you can get the email every month. And if you want to be in the lab for the next one coming up, you can just sign up for it. And if you need $10, and that's not easy for you, like let us know. We would want you to come and listen in and check it out. So yes, the one other thing I mentioned that just popped into my brain while we were having this conversation was that series about justice and like how you can see anger as a form of like good justice. It's called Justified. So we have a series that you can teach with teenagers, but we also have a student devotional. And I'm just going to recommend it to leaders because the big ideas are really good because it explores the Old Testament and the New Testament. And when we feel angry, like we can pause to ask why. It talks about how Jesus shows us how to respond in our anger and also how Jesus challenges us to show grace and to not get hurtful. And we touched on that today. So I love that somehow in this mix, we've we've landed there. And I just want to make sure you know that's available because it's probably one of my favorite things that I got to work on that taught me how to be a better person, a better leader, and maybe even how to leave somewhere well. So, Yulee, thank you.
Thank you, Yulee.
I am
thanks for
always
having
just
me.
so happy to get to hang out with you. We're very lucky. And Yulee, thank you.
Yulee, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Jason, I wish I had this episode in my back pocket when I left my last ministry context. Because if I want to do a little mini story time here is despite the fact that it was a place I had to leave, and I know now, and I knew then that it was the right call, I really don't think I did it well. And at that point, there was just so much resentment and anger built up that I was just focused on like getting onto the next available lifeboat because I did have another ministry gig lined up right after this. So, you know, that stacking thing we talked about at the top of the episode, it works. Like, sorry, I got to go. I got this other thing. But I really didn't spend a lot of time thinking about the ways that I could have advocated for the people who were having to stay in the place or even letting go of the guilt of leaving in the first place because it did feel like something of a failure and I did get a lot of slack for it. So this conversation would have been really helpful to have, but it will be helpful to have moving forward. So thank you for being in that thread.
Yeah. Totally. I agree 100%. Like, as I was talking to Yulee, that was what I was thinking is like, wow, I have not done a great job at exiting well in some situations.
Just had moments of repentance.
and overall just been kind of focused on the next thing more than I was on the actual exiting. And so spending this time talking with her and just thinking about like, wow, this was good to like focus on where you're at and your exit strategy. It was just very cool. And it's always great to hear from Dr. Yulee Lee. She always brings it. She always brings knowledge and just makes us so much smarter and wiser going forward. So thank you to Dr. Yulee Lee for a wonderful conversation. And I too, Linda, wish that you had been there with us. Maybe someday you and I will interview Dr. Yulee Lee.
We'll just keep nagging at her.
Exactly.
Come to KMA.
Yes. So, you know, a KMA episode wouldn't be a KMA episode if we didn't do this. So, Linda, what are you into these days?
Okay. Well, at the time of recording, I have seen the play Kim's Convenience.
Okay.
And I am so very much into it. So those of you who are familiar with the TV show was based on this play by In's Choi, and it is so good. It's about a Korean immigrant family in Canada. And so there are some nuances there that of course don't translate completely because their context is a little different than, you know, than the US. I was about to say North America. Oh my goodness. Canada, you are North America. We love you. But it was so cool to see some of these like generational dynamics happen there because I'm like, I can relate. I know what you're talking about. And so it was really cool to see that. And I love it so much so that I am going to go back again. And this time I'm going to take my mom because I think she will also be interested to see how that. And I would be really interested and curious to know her takeaways from it, being first generation immigrant. And so, so by the time this is published, I would have seen it twice. So I am very, very much into it. What about you?
Okay, so not anywhere as cool as that, unfortunately, but we are playing the card game War in our house again. I don't know if you're familiar with this, a very like simple card game.
Yeah. We play that too.
Yeah, so my 6-year-old shepherd, he did a little bit of like changing the game. So he likes to play it with two combined decks, and he calls it warning instead of war.
Cute. Why is he so smart?
Yeah, and when you have a war, like when you have to lay down the 3 cards and then the 1 card, there's a possibility of doubling the cards that you can lose. Like if you bring up a match at the end of the war, you don't just like do the next card down. You actually do another 3 down in a card. So you can really lose a lot, which is the reason behind the warning name.
That's a lot of cards.
So yeah. Yeah.
That's so
that
creative.
is what I'm into.
That.
Yeah. So that is what's been going on.
He's going to be
a
youth leader later, huh? The games.
Maybe. Possibly. I haven't thought about that. His name is Shepard, so it might lean into that naturally.
Wow. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Linda, for being here, and it's always great to be with you. Again, a big shout out to Dr. Yulee Lee for all of her wisdom that she shared with us, and as always, thank you to our listeners. And this was such a great question to talk about. If you have another question that you want to hear us talk about on KMA, you can send us a voice message at kma.show. Thanks again for listening, and we will see y'all next time.